All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Stand for the pledge. All right, we'll move on to the adoption of the agenda.
I move to approve.
By Monica, second by Ron. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, school board recognition month.
Just a note on this, you might be thinking, oh, you're off a month or two, because it's normally celebrated in February, as you may recall. But the Minnesota School Board has made a shift to doing that now in September. I think it's a good idea. It aligns with the starting of school for our students and staff, so you know, we do have the right month, and we did put together a little treat for you guys, and we have some other things going on for the month to recognize you, but just wanted to publicly thank you for your service.
Governance, Craig from Clifton Motion now.
All right. Gonna be up there?
Absolutely.
Sounds good. All right. Well, I don't know if you're excited to hear an audit report tonight, but I sure am. Kind of nice to break the ice on the first one of the season, so thanks to Jane and the business office staff, we're able to present final reports here for you tonight. And you know, it's gotten to be quite an undertaking, you know, getting ready for an audit and all the stuff you have to pull together and all the stuff we have to put in the audit reports now these days. And here we are, so that's pretty awesome. All right. Why is it working? I can do it. Okay, we'll do that. We'll go no tech here. All right, so bound copies and stuff are in front of the board members here tonight. Clean opinion on the financial statements, so it means all the numbers and everything are presented and measured and everything in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. We had one finding on internal controls over financial reporting, so basically your business office takes care of all the numbers and everything like that, and then we audit those numbers and then add you know, 60, 70 pages of riveting reading for you. So anyway, that's the only finding that we have on the financial statement prep. This is a finding that you've seen other years as well. It's kind of the framework that we operate in now. So compliance-wise, Minnesota legal compliance, no findings there. So clean bill of health on statutory, kind of Minnesota statutory compliance things that we have to look for. If we go to the next slide. We did have a federal, what we call single audit, but it's an audit of federal grant expenditures. And this year we were able to just test the child nutrition program. We had two findings there, both kind of procurement, vendor procurement related. So with the procurement process, you know, the statutory requirements kind of kick in at $25,000, where you have to start documenting multiple quotes and reaching out to multiple vendors, things like that, and document that in the file. However, the federal requirements started at $10,000. So we had 3 items in our sample in that gap between 10,000 and 25,000, where there just needs to be more documentation in the file for just that specific layer of procurements. Very easy things to fix going forward, more kind of housekeeping items. So those are the 2 findings on the federal. There's a few changes coming up next year around compensated absences. So that might cause a change in the fund financials. We'll see when we get to that point. But there are, continues to be more changes coming. Looking now, we'll start giving you a few numbers here. So looking at general fund, and these next few slides are going to be on fund balance. So basically financial resources remaining at the end of the 2024 year, June 30th, that carry forward and for use in today and future years. So general fund, the unrestricted and assigned fund balance is at $5.2 million now. Few things happening there. So in kind of insurance, workers' comp insurance, you did not have like a premium adjustment, for the 23-24 year. So that was kind of a welcome kind of a development. So that was good to see. Interest rates are up. So what you're making on interest that you're earning on the liquid asset fund investments are generating more income, as well as just kind of careful management on your expenses. So revenues kind of came in over budget, expenses came in under budget. A couple things then when you're looking at this particular slide, the unassigned portion of your fund balance is at 14.5% of expenditures. So kind of the goal that you have, that you've set for yourselves is 10 to 20%. You're right in the middle of that goal. Just a word of caution then. So all of like the COVID money that's been flowing the last 3 years now, that's used up now. So for starting July 1st here this year, you're back to, fully back to reality basically, right? So CARES Act money is done. And then you have kind of budgeted for a deficit spend in 24-25. So we'll probably see that, pull down if actual comes in relative to budget. Okay. Next slide is some classroom type restrictions. So classroom related restrictions, restricted use funds came in at just over $700,000. There's a couple new things in the restricted area now for classrooms is literary reading and then student support personnel aid. So that's new for 24-25, so kind of relative to that. That's why you see an increase there. And that's available for future use. ALC also had some fund balance remaining at the end of the year. The next one is operating capital. So kind of a not necessarily classroom restricted fund balance. So let's see, we're at one more slide forward. There we go. So operating fund balance, $561,000 at the end of 2024, kind of as a result of timing of curriculum purchase. So there's a curriculum purchase budgeted, came in either under budget or didn't happen until the year that we're in right now. So that's largely the reason operating capital increased. Long-term facilities maintenance is the next one. That's holding steady at $548,000. So basically, putting those funds to use as they came in. Those carried forward. Food service, that one increased as well, so the food service fund balance is at $573,000. Couple things happened, so with 2024, this one's kind of been, food service has been kind of all over the map during the COVID years, so, you started out COVID, kind of normal, free and reduced, then 2022, 2023, 22 I should say, all meals are free through the federal program. 22 is back to reality, 24 is now back to normal, free and reduced for federal, but the state is kicking in and making meals free the rest of the way, at least for the students. So participation then within the meal program is a little higher, I think, as a result of that. The other thing that happened is basically expenses came in under budget. So there was an oven purchase that was budgeted for, but did not happen in 2024, just for the simple reason of supply chain. That particular oven is on back order. So we were under budget for expenses there, kind of looking or kind of purchases in mind to use that fund balance then going forward. And that was really one thing that the Department of Education at the state level was looking at all of these food service funds, because a lot of them with the federal free meal programs the previous 2 years, almost all of those food programs or child nutrition programs have been fund balance. So then what the Department of Education said is, well, we're not asking you to, return that money to the state, but we do want you to use that fund balance. So I think you've got plans in place to put that to use and start drawing it down. I think your maximum that the state wants you to see in fund balance or have in fund balance is 25% of expenses. So the next one, community service fund balance, a little bit of an uptick there, about $275,000, and largely related to SAC. So SAC revenues came in over budget for 2024. Debt service fund, not a lot exciting to talk about here. Basically, the levy requirements for the debt service fund is you have to levy 5% over and above what you're scheduled to pay for principal and interest in the coming year. So generally, you see kind of a slow build on fund balance as a result of that. Shift gears to some revenue numbers here. So general fund revenues, it came through kind of ugly, didn't it? About $19.2 million in total. 80% of that revenue is sourced from the state of Minnesota. So your state sources is a little bit higher as a percentage-wise compared to the previous year. So you had 2 solar panels that were purchased and installed here, and that brought with it $200,000 of state grant revenue. So that's reflected in the state sources. Federal sources revenue is kind of the yellow slice of the pie there. That's a little bit smaller for the main reason that the COVID dollars are going away. Those are getting spent down. So that was about, COVID money was about $500,000 a year ago. It's about $250,000 for 2024. So then other income, the red slice of the pie is a little bit larger than last year. Again, because you're earning more interest income on your liquid asset fund investments. So that is a good thing. The other thing that is reflected in 2024 is just an increase again in the formula rate for general education aid. So the state is trying to push some money and get school districts increasing the school district's funding to try and keep up with costs at least. Next one is general fund expenditures. So we had $19.2 million of revenues, we have 17.2 million, or 17.7 million of expenses. And this is kind of showing you what, what you're spending on. So the largest slice of the pie, the dark blue area is salaries and benefits. So right at about 70%, that's pretty normal. 70%, maybe up to about 75% is pretty normal, or pretty typical for the spend on salaries and benefits. Purchase services, that includes Hiawatha Valley, your special education program dollars, as well as Dasher, and also Ed Midwest. So Ed Midwest is new to the mix for 2024, kind of managing the IT operations. Let's see. Capital is, I'm not entertaining enough. All right. Capital spend, again, that's largely the solar panels that came through in 2024. The next slide is the same expenses, but just looked at from the program perspective. So not what, but where, kind of are we spending money. So the yellow slice of the pie is regular instruction. So that's almost half of your general fund spend. If you kind of work clockwise up to the dark blue shaded slice of the pie, that's pupil support. So that whole kind of over three-fourths of that pie is basically instruction related. So in the classroom, regular instruction, vocational, special ed, instructional support, pupil support. So 77 cents on the dollar, think of it that way, in the general fund is going into the classroom to support students. Yeah. All right. Enrollment is the next slide. So this is another reason why you need to keep an eye on your budget and what you're spending on. Enrollments kind of had a slow decline over the 5 years. So just over 1,400 students to end 2024. Sounds like it's pretty steady going into the 2025 school year here. But each one of those student units or pupil units, kind of think of it, quick math is $7,000 easily at state aid, almost $7,500. So you can do kind of some quick math, and you can see what the downward pressure is on your budget. At the same time, the state's increasing the formula rate, so they're trying to kind of keep up with that. But that's just another reason to keep an eye on your spend, your expenses. The next slide is just a 5-year trend of the general fund. So again, you can kind of see, you're over that time period, you've been managing your expenses pretty well. So you're able to show kind of those increases or incremental increases in fund balance year over year, for the most part, not every year. And then the last few slides that I will kind of highlight here are just some expenses on a per student basis, think of it that way. So 2 slides ago we had kind of 4, the even numbered years in the trend line, the dark blue bars, which is your district. The even numbered years coincide with new teacher contracts or faculty contracts in each of those years. And then kind of what we're comparing this to, the 2 bars on the far right, the lighter blue is districts in the state with between 1,000 and 2,000 students. So you're kind of like right in the middle of that zone with your enrollment. The far right bar is just all districts in the state. So comparatively, what we saw kind of back on the pie charts was you're spending less on a percentage basis on administration overall, and that's kind of reflected here as well. And then You know, kind of the normal spend here, probably 8 to 12%. You're more at the lower end of that range of the 8%. So, making efficient use of your administration spend. The next slide then is regular instruction. So, and this is the largest kind of line item in your budget. That came in at $8.7 million for 2024. A little over $6,000 per student. There's a little bit less now of COVID money in here in 2024 as well. So the COVID money's going down. So $500,000 a year ago total, $250,000 total in 2024, and then it's done. But here you're kind of dividing those expenses over a little bit smaller enrollment numbers, so that kind of pushes that up a little bit. But you can kind of see comparatively doing very well tracking, with other districts of similar size in the state when they're averaging about $6,200 per student for regular instruction. And then the last one is special education. So special education instruction is about $2.4 million. Here you're participating in the co-op with Hiawatha Valley. So kind of sharing those costs with a number of districts. It helps you kind of manage this category of spend because it can fluctuate quite a bit, just depending on the needs of the students. And those students can come and go on a year-to-year basis. So you can kind of see the differential compared to other districts, at least of similar size. They're spending almost $800 more on a per student basis. So being part of Hiawatha Valley is benefiting you in that regard as well. So those are my prepared remarks. Mr. Chair, I'll turn this back to you for questions or anything like that, or action or what have
Is
you.
there anybody that has any questions? All right. To move to accept the report. Second. Motion made by Julie, seconded by Jake. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You got to do the presentation first. Life changing work.
I was doing that?
Yes, sir.
Isn't it close?
I nominated 3 people for the Life Change Award again this year. I included the write-up in the packet. I'm not gonna read it to you. Nikki Sanders is not here, but Gretchen Meyer, Katie Holtgard over there. And again, all 3 ladies, I know people say all the time, it's just amazing, but truly, I've worked in education a long time, none better. Colleagues love them, students, parents, all 3 of them are fantastic. They make it very easy to come to work. I'll hang in a while longer, as long as they stay. They're outstanding, so congratulations.
Correspondence, we have none. Public comment. Speakers must identify themselves. Each person is allowed 3 minutes. Public comment is for input only and will not get a response. Public comment is to be respectful and civil. So we'll have 3. Mike Maya.
All right, good evening. I'll be speaking on behalf of the PM Teachers Union. First of all, Eric's already done this, but again, I would like to recognize September as School Board Appreciation Month. We as a union, we recognize the important and difficult job that our school board has to do to help our school, students, staff, and community. And thank you for the hard work, time, and dedication. All right, members of the board, I know later in the agenda you'll be addressing an action item on a level 3 grievance brought to you by the PM Education Association. The situation deals with the staff member's ability to access their sick bank after use of PTO as per our contract. I will hand out, or I have handed out, an explanation of the situation as we see it and an outline as we believe the benefit was wrongly denied to a teacher. We ask that you please take the time to read the statement before taking any action tonight. I am more than willing to answer any questions. We also would like to state that we can provide multiple examples in the recent past where the district has allowed other staff members to access their sick bank in a manner very similar to the situation in question. We'd like to point out that the contract has not changed in regard to PTO and access to sick bank during this time, nor does the contract state in any place that PTO or bank leave needs to be used in consecutive calendar days. The PM Education Association is seeking full restitution of all the employees' lost wages as a result of taking unpaid days when their sick bank should have been allowed to be accessed. Thank you for your time and consideration in this matter.
Mike and McDonald.
Good evening. I brought some notes just so I don't wander too much, but school started pretty good. My oldest is a 3rd grader this year, and with talking with some other parents, we were kind of moving through it and noticing that the class sizes this year are up. My daughter's in with 28 right now. Some have 29, 27, but that seems to be the age. And maybe you guys have better info than I do, but looking at the kind of state averages, I couldn't get more regional than that. It's about 23 for that grade. I'm focusing on 3rd grade, but I know this is kind of, every grade has its own challenges right now. The part that we were kind of talking about though is this group in particular is potentially the most affected from the COVID years. They would have been in preschool in 2020, kindergarten in 2021, dealing with all those disruptions. We have the feeling, it's anecdotal, that kind of the baseline is lower for this group. And noticing that the class sizes are up, are they gonna have the support they need? This will be the first time they do the MCAs this year, for what that's worth. But so just wanted to bring attention that this grade level specifically is potentially the most affected, and it's too late to, add a section. I'm not suggesting that, but in the meantime, can we move support in there in the classrooms, reading and math especially? Thank you.
And Lori Yanikowski.
Good evening. I just want to start out and say thanks to the board for the work that they do to try to organize and get details out. And I'm speaking to you from a perspective as a former teacher and also a career 20-year military officer, where I have run more meetings and organizations than probably any person in this room. So with that, I draw your attention to the agenda if you have one in front of you. Number 11, Governance, Section 2, Item K, Dissolving the Curriculum Committee. Imagine, if you will, showing up to work or to a meeting, and you get there and there's a pink slip on the door with your name, no explanation. Committee's dissolved. Thank you for whatever, we really don't care. Well, I am a sitting member of that committee, and that is exactly how I felt when I pulled up the agenda to get ready for the meeting, it's like, I'm no longer a teacher, I'm not a board member, I'm just a community member, but I take the time to participate and to be on here, and then I see that it's being dissolved, and yet I had no idea that that was even being considered. And I checked with a few other members who also did not know. So my point here, I do have strong feelings about the committee and its purpose, but the point here is the communication. If you can act unilaterally and make decisions about a committee that has public in it without their either advice or comment or concern, why do you have a committee if you're going to act unilaterally? Someone told me it's perhaps not being dissolved, that it may be being renamed or something. Okay, that's fine, but as a standing committee member, I think that I and the others like me should have been made aware, at least so we weren't blindsided. Communication is a huge, it's the first few goals of this board and has been in a long time. And we kind of missed the boat here on this one, and curriculum is a big deal in this school. I think we can do better. I know it's hard, but details are important. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, principal's report. Mr. Rush.
I have mine behind you, but I've attached my building, or my board report, and just to run through that quick. Starting out the school year, we had a lot of new enrollment, so a lot of kids coming in. In fact, I kind of laughed because we even had a lot of kids that were moving grade levels. So right to the very end, the poor teachers that didn't really know what their class was because it was kind of a moving target the whole time. So Ms. Kostanczyk did a great job handling all that stuff, with all the new paperwork coming in and sliding here and there, and I don't know how she keeps it all straight, but she does. So meet the teacher, great success. Again, we're at 98, 99% attendance for that, so that is awesome. Letters training, we did our first full day during workshop. That was a lot to take in for those teachers that are doing that. We have our first, this actually in Wednesday, we are taking this as our first half day where we keep the kids in school, but the teachers are taking 3 hours a day and doing more training. So we'll see how that goes, as is our first one. We have 8 of those once a month that we do that through the school year. My last two are not as positive. I've got ESL. I got word that my ESL para was not returning, and I got that Monday night, so we are scrambling now to find a para to help out Mrs. Hepting in our ESL department. So we're trying to find that. And then we never did get any applicants for our speech and language pathologist, so we have signed a contract with Innovative Therapy Solutions, and now we are getting that up and running, but looking for a para to help run that. So if anybody in the crowd knows a para, please send them my way. We need a couple real quick.
All right, thanks, John. Clark.
Similar things as Mr. Wright, meet the teacher on that August was fantastic. Great turnout as always. I put in there, kind of just so you're aware, this is the second year, have Mr. Peter, Mrs. Klein do that active transportation requirement. It's for the walkers and the bicycle safety, that's only the second year. Miss Dietz, who's here tonight, she's doing a new thing for the vocal students. At the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade level, end of September through December, Tuesday nights, if you want more opportunity, more experience in vocal, it's after school for our 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. Absolute fantastic idea for those kids. Last two things, same as the READ Act, we have that again, like Mr. Wright said, on Wednesday. All the students are in the building. We cover it at the 4-6 elementary with our specialist. Per grade level, we've got art, bied, band, choir. We're gonna rotate that while the teachers are training. We got it, we're ready, it's just gonna be a little different. So that's this Wednesday for the first one. And the last thing, had a long list of fees. Stacy asked that last month at the board meeting at the end, so I just wanted to be very upfront. Those are exactly what we do, the expenses, and again, as was said, as you get older, yeah, it's quite a bit of money. The strong majority of parents thank us every time we do something. They really do. Thank you for taking the time, going to Fort Snelling, the Capitol, going to the Science Museum. There's some educational experiences that they wouldn't get. So overall, I think our community really supports this. As I said last month, anybody that has difficulties, we take care of. No one misses these trips because of finances. So I just wanted to give you that entire detailed list. Thank you.
Thanks, Clark. And Mike?
First day of school, I'd just like to highlight, obviously, all of our kids come that day, our 10th through 12th grade students come in the afternoon, meet their counselors, get a quick visit with each of their teachers, but I think most importantly, spending that whole day with the 9th graders and the 9th grade advisors and our Bulldog ambassadors is a really great way to start the year, get some connections going. Schools that have that type of program, they benefit from it a lot throughout the year. And those Bulldog ambassadors are not just, it's not just that day, they're there quite often with the 9th grade students in advisory. So that was a really positive day. We launched PEM calendar app, had an opportunity to join up with Blue Mango software. Essentially, this app just links up with our Three Rivers calendar, presents it in a little more maybe user-friendly way, especially on your mobile device. So I'm looking forward to that. It did no cost to the district, no cost to the user. The company does look for potential sponsors in the community. But it's a real, I think it looks really nice. You can get it on either of the app stores, or there's also a web version. But it just presents stuff in a little more cleaner fashion. Last year we started using parchment transcript services for our 12th grade students. If you remember, this was a piece that we had to add for that direct admissions program that we entered into. Real quickly to remind you about that, our seniors can enter into this direct admissions and they get access to, last year it was 55 colleges and universities in Minnesota, and basically you kind of get, you choose the schools you want to potentially apply for, and they tell you if you'll make it, there's no application required, no fees, things like that. So it's just a quicker way to get accepted into Minnesota colleges and universities. That was a positive program, and Parchment worked really, really well for that. Previously, it was our office staff, downloading or printing off and then faxing or whatever. Took a lot of time. We are expanding our Parchment services to our whole high school. So when we do transcript requests, that will just go through Parchment. All students, current students do not have a charge still. So that's still, we take care of that. It's just through Parchment. Former students do have a charge. That's not any different. We have charged in the past. It's a little more since we're partnering with this company, but again, none of our current students are charged for that service. Quick update on high school graduation. We have this information posted in a number of places. Senior letter, activities calendar, now and then also on that PEM calendar app. We have both the main date and the rain date on these pieces of information. The only slight change from past years, well, I guess we have two. We're going to shoot for an 8 o'clock start time, and we do that if you've ever sat there at 6:45 or 7 o'clock. The sun's like right in your eyes. So we're going to try for 8 o'clock. That's our target time. Again, if weather has us push it back or up, we'll have to determine that. And then the makeup date is June 1st. Again, hoping for an 8 p.m. if we end up having to use that date. And then my last piece was just MCA dates. So last year we had 2 late starts to get all of our MCAs in. We used the regular late start emergency weather calendar or bell schedule. We're going to do that again this year. We had a very high rate of, most all of our kids got it done on those days. It was really, really good and allowed everybody to just focus on the MCA. I know usually our all-school calendar only has stuff from, that impacts the whole school. We could add those late starts into the all-school calendar, or I can just continue to communicate with all of the stuff that I send out. Either one, I don't know what your preference would be as a school board, but we could do either one of those. Other than that, we're overall off to a really good start to the year. We still are down 1 special ed para and down one special ed teacher at the high school. But we're doing the best we can, and again, off to a really good start.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Student member report.
Hello everyone, and thanks for having me. Our student council has stayed pretty busy throughout the summer. We participated in Elgin Tuesdays, Millville Valley River Days, Plainview Corn on the Cob Days, with representation in each parade there. We also spent some time face painting in Elgin and Plainview during those events, as that's really our only fundraiser throughout the year. Our summer events were great, and they really prepared us for a great school year. Our latest event, which was Family Fun Night, took place this past Friday before the football game in Elgin. We offered a wide variety of events and activities for the community, including bounce houses, a petting zoo, face painting. We had some food trucks there, a magician show, and several other activities. The turnout was great, and it was really fun to see so many members of the community out there having a good time. I just want to recognize Bulldog Nation Foundation for their support in making the event a success with the grant that we received from them. I also wanted to thank the PEM FFA program for helping us put on the petting zoo. It was definitely a big hit, and we're glad that they joined us for that. Overall, though, the event went great. It was really a great way to start the school year off on a positive note. Looking forward, we are preparing for our homecoming week, and we are excited to work with staff members, school board, and community members to overall just make the week a great time and experience for everybody. We're looking at implementing some new strategies and ideas into our events, including a homecoming do's and don'ts video, hopefully kind of just to boost school spirit and focus more on what homecoming week should look like. But overall, just looking forward to a great school year for everyone and getting the community involved in a positive way. Thank you guys for your time and support.
Thank you, Macy. I just want to make sure. I've heard some very good things about Bulldog ambassadors throughout the community, so that's really exciting.
Yes, like Mr. Walton talked about, it's a great program, great way to kind of make connections with the ninth graders, especially as they move to a new school, getting into their schedules and all that, so. Mr. Arsvold and Trish do a great job with that too, so.
I know we attended Family Fun Night, and it was very nice. You guys did a great job putting it on, and thank you, BNF and FFA. All right, maintenance report is attached. Does anybody have any questions on that? Community ed report. Do we have any questions on that? Monthly budget report.
I didn't attach the budget report you used to see in each month. The audit's going to stand for our budget report for tonight. We've already done the action on that. So I can take any questions if you have any beyond what the auditor told you. Otherwise, feel free to reach out if you have any questions other than that. I am going to duck out after this. Superintendent Anger has agreed to take on the Levy certification action item coming up, but really that is a preliminary, and they've just posted those reports over the weekend. They're not right. Common at this time of year, MD has a few steps, bugs to work out. So we didn't bring that report either because that would have been more confusing. Last year we were at right around 3.3 million on our levy dollars. Expect it to be that and a little above. And it's important to remember a part of that levy is the OPEB levy is in there at around 100,000. We also have the school age disabled school age child care levy that had been talked about, or Fund 4, that will come on this levy also. Tonight we just ask you to say preliminary, and really all that does, it means we can go up or down, but if you don't do preliminary and not a specific dollar amount, we cannot go up above that. So this time of year, we always ask for preliminary maximum. If you can do that for us tonight, we'll come back. We have to have by state statute approval for that by September 30th. So it'd be nice if we had the correct numbers. I'm actually attending a meeting tomorrow where MDE will be present, so we should be able to figure this out. This is just not uncommon for the reports to need a few more calculations. And then we'll ask you for a final levy certification in December. And that's at that point where you will set the total dollar amount. So if you have any questions regarding those extra dollar amounts, please let me know, and then we'll talk about that some more.
Thank you,
And
Dan.
that's all I've got, unless you need anything else, I'm gonna that.
Before we let Jan slide out, just want to publicly thank her. In the audit, you know, that Craig presented, it's a lot of work for the office staff, Marcia and Shar, but especially Jan, because of what she oversees. So a lot of extra work went into making that audit go smoothly, and I greatly appreciate that. Thank you.
No, my son has a meeting that
His last scout meeting.
Yes. Thank you.
All right, superintendent's report.
It seems like a night of thank yous, but the first thing I want to do is just recognize our staff, principals. So it was great to have the opportunity to see how PEM schools start. I've been in about 4 or 5 districts, I guess, as a teacher, admin, so I always love to see how things operate, and it was a very good start. Always a few things we're going to work on, but overall, great effort, and really appreciate everybody's part in making that happen. So I'm glad we got off to a good start, and we'll be working on those other issues. If you want to click that first enrollment, if we can try, thank you so much. I was actually going to see if we could make it a little smaller, just to get the whole thing. I'll highlight a few things on here. It is in maybe 50.
I don't know if it would.
Go ahead and just, oh, sorry. That, oh, you're almost there.
A little smaller.
That's fine, right there. And don't really worry about the numbers here so much as those last 2 numbers. A couple, and Greg shared some of these numbers. So 1404, that's where we're currently at, K-12, I guess pre-K-12, there's a pre-K number in there. And then 1390, you see that in red, that's what we budgeted for. And a couple things as I talk about numbers, you know, early numbers versus a little bit later, and by that I mean like even the end of October, that's really where we start to solidify numbers. So can you open the next attachment? And this one maybe try to make a little bit bigger, or just open it and it should. So a few things going on here, and we did have, Ian, appreciate your comments, especially, you know, I listened or caught you, you know, talking about the need or maybe waiting for some data. So we are going to do some benchmarking, and this one doesn't show up very good in the, however this is open, but you get the idea of it. If you look here, you've got 2 numbers going on there. It says 104, that's what's on that sheet that, and what the number that Craig has. We also have 110, that's because we have 6 migrant students currently in those classes. So I am very new to dealing with migrant students and families. So a lot of them in the Plainview, Elgin, Millville schools, they may be leaving us in October. But then again, talking to John and some others that deal with, you never know. Sometimes this plant might keep more, they might move them. So we're keeping an eye on that, and I'm keeping an eye on it is, okay, in 3rd grade you can see part of the higher numbers are 109. We've got 6 migrant students in that class, okay? So I want to assure parents, and I've had other a staff member reach out to me as well. That's something that we will definitely continue to look at. And as we get these first benchmarks, are we seeing something that in reading math, is there an area that we need to help to try to focus on to get a little bit more help in there as well? But as far as watching the numbers, yeah, I have a system in place that pretty much in both, all three buildings, our secretarial staff does an awesome job of keeping these up to date. So when something happens, I don't know if you wanna scroll up, John, it might even be in that corner, hard to see, but yeah, this was revised on the 4th. So if somebody comes and goes, the expectation is, I get another kindergartner, you're gonna put them in there and put that as a revision. So we're actually watching it on a daily basis. Next tab. And this just breaks down, and they did it a little differently, and I didn't want to have anybody have to redo it, but this breaks down just a little differently for our 4th and 6th grade. And then the final tab, and you don't have to make that big. Again, the differences in those numbers are just our migrant students, and then these are our totals. And, you know, my process now, I'm already starting to look at our staffing, not only for this year, monitoring it and how is it going, but also looking at what does this look like for our district next year. So a few things I like that I see in our numbers early on. I've only gotten about 4 or 5 to respond in local soups that are about our size, but I can tell you 103 is a better number than a lot of districts around us. So when we look at declining enrollment, you know, if you look at our prior years, 103 is a pretty good number. Not back to, I think our 6th grade, that's 130. Those days may be far and few between. We got 11th grade on there at 127, but I would say anything in that 90 and up number is actually not a terrible number in terms of our staffing. What that allows us to do is continue to at least maintain a 4-section class. In my tenure at Lake City, we started running into 80s and maybe high 70s. Those are tough numbers to try to deal with. So there is a silver lining or a light at the end of the tunnel that it isn't all gloom and doom. I think I even heard Craig use the word, we have a very slow enrollment reduction, and that's a lot better than having something that's way more escalated. And as you look at these transitions, I really unknown for next year, and be working with Katie to know this number as quickly as we can, at least a ballpark number, but our kindergarten. Otherwise, you've got 3rd grade, they're gonna transition into 4th grade, and that's a good number, 103. Our 6th grade going into 7th grade is 114, and then our largest group, the 8th grade, is going to come into the high school, and they're 130. So when you're looking at just kids, and again, a lot changes, I'll talk about that when I just highlight a little on the in and out. But, you know, next year our 4-6 building would have 294 students. It's got 305 this year. So again, pretty good. You look at our 7-8, it would have 216. It's got 232 right now. So again, not bad. The high school will be even larger. It'll have about 468 students in it next year, and it's got 430. So that just helps, and then again, each group, like the 130, the anomalies, we as a district have to make that decision on class sizes and sections, but overall, with our current kindergarten, looking transition into next year, I really see the kindergarten variable, and then how do we staff within pretty much what we had this last year. So, and then we do an in-out with the secretaries as well. That's not attached there. And what that does is, on those individual sheets, we're updating what is happening in classes, especially in our pre-K 3. Those are self-contained classrooms for the most part. So those are important to know our numbers. When you start getting above that, even the 4-6, I guess still self-contained, but doing less, especially 7-12, At the high school, a class number really doesn't matter, it depends on what that student is in or isn't in. But in our earlier numbers, those are really important, and that's why I have those individual sheets that we can update on a daily basis. In our overall, as a district, it's very interesting, and I track this in my time at Lake City as well. I just think it's important for us to realize, as a society, we're much more mobile. We have 52 total students leaving us over the summer. And this is just from last June, that number that you had on there, to today. So we had 52 students, and a lot of them are just parents, family moving, flat out moving, relocating. Some of them might have come here under open enrollment from a different school, and now they're going back to their original school. I didn't see anything so far that sticks out. We do have 6 going to the ALC or dropping out at the high school level, and then 7 online. So even 7 online, when you have a population of, well, even if you took your juniors and seniors that could go online, I don't see as online as being a huge problem for us. Yes, I don't want to lose 7 students, but for those students, that might be the type of education they choose to take. I am going to continue to dig in deeper. They've done a great job of keeping the sheet, but I still don't have quite the detail. And when I talk about October, that's really the driver for our enrollment that we receive aid on. So right now, the state really doesn't recognize our 1404. It's that final number that we are able to give them in October. Also, once that's done, because it uses MARS data, I'm able to go in and run reports that'll tell me, for instance, how many students are leaving our district open enrolling. I can see that through a report and see exactly what district they're in, Rochester, Lake City, Dover, Yoda. So I'm gonna hold off and bring this back when I can make sure my data is 100%. But like I said, overall, I don't see anything glaring within the movement of our students. We have a net positive if you count the migrants. We have 66 new students, but you gotta realize 30 of those students are migrant students and might not be with us after October. So like I said, I'll bring it back with October data to just keep that alive. But I wanted to make sure not only the board but patrons knew that we are looking at those numbers in the elementary always, every day. I think that's it. John talked a little bit. I wanted to make sure that we brought up about the speech, and this is a company we vetted. So there are 2 very good companies that do the virtual speech therapy. This person we elected to go with because they really work more, actually, I think totally in southern Minnesota. The other firm does a very good job too, but they are a national firm, and we just hope that we can get a little bit more care and service on, not without things being totally spelled out in the contracts. So both very good companies. I think we're gonna be very satisfied with the company we went with, but I also know in talking to the folks that have them, the service the students are receiving is as good as if the person was in person. So that's our goal.
Okay. Committee reports, Southeast Service Co-op is attached,
And nothing additional.
and additional. Meet and confer. Do you have anything to add to that? Nothing to add? No? Okay. And Finance Committee, those are attached.
The finance committee.
I touched the wrong one.
Oh.
All right, nothing, Jake, you're on that committee. You good?
I'm not on that.
Oh, you're not?
No.
I'm on it, but I was not there.
Gotcha. All right, the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion made by Monica, seconded by Julie. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, governance. Music department travel proposal.
Fantastic. It works.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we're really excited to bring this new opportunity for our music department. This is primarily aimed at the marching band, and then we're starting a travel choir, which Alyssa will talk a little bit more about. Just for something that for the students that do a little bit extra above and beyond just our regular enrollment. The travel company we have selected and we're working with at this time is Adventures. They're run out of Rochester, Minnesota. It was started about 50 years ago by two teachers that traveled frequently with their students, and they have done a fantastic job. If you are interested in seeing more about their policies and past trips that they've done, we have the website there. This is Paul Larson. We've been working directly with him. He's the president and sales manager, and just some information on him as well. If you'd like to look at that later.
Here we have the calendar. We'd be leaving the 22nd of June 2026 and returning on the 26th, planning on taking a 5-day trip with the students.
Who can attend? So this would be marching band, all students going into 8th grade. Our enrollment is for marching band is for students going into 7th grade through just finished 12th grade. We would only take that 1 year above just to make sure that they are been in junior high and they a little bit of maturity and independence.
And all the travel.
Yes, all good stuff. So they do need to be registered for both marching band and in their school band ensemble. The only exception to that would be color guard members are not required to be in the school ensemble. That is our flags, like drill, that type of thing.
And then the travel choir, we'd start that. Any students going into eighth grade and up, they have to be registered in the travel choir, but in order to register for the travel choir, they have to be registered in choir in school as well. So,
Keeping this not as just extracurricular, but part of the curriculum as well. And here's our itinerary for travel. First day, we would actually go through St. Louis, and the students would be able to go and see the arch as well. The day 2, we would have breakfast at a hotel, drive through Memphis, have the city tour, and go to a bunch of different shows that day. But then, when we have days 3 and 4 is when hopefully we would also be able to perform at certain areas as well, because we want to bring these, not just for fun, but also to perform in a different part of the country, really. And the biggest parts would be the Graceland tour, and also the tour of Sun Studios. Oh yeah, there's day 5. We drive home, and we have pictures of all of the different things that they've been doing so far.
Okay, so this is the details, I get the fun slides. So these are our cost options. We have a couple different ways that we can look at this, or we fund this. So if we do all chaperones free, the company suggested 1 chaperone per every 8 students attending. If all the chaperones are free, the first number is based on if we have 40 or more kids on each coach bus. The second number in bold is based on if we have 35 to 39 students on a bus. So if we had a situation where we had 2 buses and one was at 40 and the other one was at 35, they would average out the price. So whatever you're seeing in bold, it's going to be around that price. In the all chaperones free, that would include, so the chaperones would be paid for, and then also the directors are paid for. The bottom option, which is what we are currently leaning towards would be, we would not pay to go on the trip. We're tour guides, I think, on the trip, and technically is what we're doing. Again, the prices would average out there if the buses were at different occupancy. The chaperones would pay $1,000 to go on the trip, so it would take off about $600 per person for the chaperones. Okay. So sign up and payment. One thing that's really great about this company, this website here, tiny URL, 1026, this is where they would sign up and register for the trip. We would not specifically be handling any of like their registration details. This is all done through the company. This link is live, so if you click on it, you can see what they would see. We can't actually register anybody tonight,
Yeah,
so.
it's not active yet.
But it would come up like this. They would click register and they'd be able to fill in all that information. Tells them when the trip is, and then it tells them when the registration ends. So that March 23rd would be of 2026, would be the last time somebody could register for the trip. So we can go back to the slides then. They would each get an individual link to their account, so they can share that to family and friends to make donations directly to their trip costs. So if they wanted to ask for funding instead of birthday presents or whatever, they could do that pretty easily. Our fundraising proceeds can be applied directly to their accounts through the company, and then Adventures will specify dates that like a deposit has to be paid and then the second chunk of it has to be paid, so they're very on top of the details with all this. We had some fundraising ideas from us and from our students. We're very excited about
They're
it.
very excited for fundraising. I don't know why, but they're very excited for fundraising. So a lot of these are going, like the top ones are going to be for the fast food restaurants. It's whenever they get 10 to 20% of the proceeds go to the fundraising. And then we have the community yard sale idea. When were we planning on having this?
Oh, so I was thinking about during one of like the community celebrations, like Cheese Days or in the Cobb or River Valley, we could have one of the schools do kind of a garage sale in maybe the gym or one of the open spaces, and the proceeds could go towards their trip.
Yep, and then we also have like music-themed movie nights like they do up in cities, along with raffle tickets, script gift card sales, which I just found out about today. Those are great. You just put money on them and then you get money into your account or something like that. It's wild. It's wild.
I will explain that.
Yes.
The script gift cards. So we purchase gift cards from a company. Kids get like about 8 to 10, a little bit more sometimes percent back. So you could go online. We were looking at some of them today. There's like food brands, but there's also like travel companies, Old Navy, like clothes, that type of stuff. So really any expenses a family already has, they can purchase those gift cards and then they get a percent back donated to the trip.
And then doing some sort of family like trivia night, bingo night, and then a parents' night out where we would talk to the students who are also in the the organization.
The Do Kids Club or Student
Yes.
Care during the summer. They talked about doing something where we'd offer it to like kindergarten through 3rd grade or 4th grade students. Could come and do like a movie night or a pizza night or something. The older kids would help run that and help supervise, be there of course, and charge like a flat rate for parents so that they could have parents' night out.
And also ticket taking and refill goods is willing to help us out as well.
Oh yeah, I forgot that.
Why travel? Well, this can definitely build life skills and foster independence for our kids. Expand worldview, so show them more of the world instead of just what's here in PEM. Grow friendships. I know when I did trips when I was in high school around their age, I definitely gained friendships and learned more about people through that. Definitely unique performance opportunities that they've never thought that they could do before. And then just some recruitment and retention for the music program as well. So.
Thank you.
Any
I think that's it.
questions? Yeah, that is our last slide. Any questions or concerns or anything?
Thank you.
Entertain a motion to.
So I move to approve the music department's travel proposal.
Second. Motion made by Monica, seconded by Jake. All those in favor? Motion passed. Acceptance of donations. We Montgomery and John Meyer.
I move to approve the donations.
Second.
Motion by Jake, second by Julie, all in favor?
Aye.
Strategic plan discussion.
So, I did reach out to MSBA. You can see in this one page or somewhere in here, I did allow them to put a placeholder, so we do have a spot with them. They're not as busy as they were in the past, they're still busy, but, they can accommodate, especially if we look at doing it, next fall. If we do it yet this year, they're open to the discussion. A couple of things in talking to them, because it's important to remember, we have a superintendent search that you're gonna be doing. And, I gathered from the conversation from last month's meeting, you want to, redo a survey, a patron survey, as a part of that, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so in their world, they talk about, survey fatigue. So if you survey your patrons on one thing, you might wanna try to capture as much information from that as you can, because your odds of getting them to do multiple surveys, it doesn't work too well. And that's just not Penn, that's pretty much everywhere in, that they work in Minnesota. So I would recommend, that we work with them on infusing some of our strategic planning questions along with the strategic, or the superintendent survey. And they're used to doing that, they would know what kind of would be some key questions and might throw some of the survey questions regarding the superintendent, but that's what I would suggest. So those would be bundled. Also, one of the first pieces we could do on, and we don't need, you can see $1,000, 1,100. We don't need to do the cost part, but in talking to several board members, I think it's been a long time, if ever, that you've done a board self-evaluation. So what that is you're not, like Jake, for instance, he's not gonna go and evaluate himself as a board member. He gets to, by himself, evaluate our board from his perspective. And Julie does that, Monica does that, Ron does that. And then all that information comes together, so we can take a look at what everybody's thinking about. You can do that for free, I think it's 27 questions, and they'll give you a one-pager. And then once you see that one-pager, because I've done this in other districts, you might be interested in, we could maybe do some work on this page. That's where the $1,100 comes in, so they would actually facilitate, we talked about a retreat, a board retreat. That would be them facilitating that with us using that data from our self-eval. So I think that would be a huge first step for, I just get a little worried when people just wanna keep thinking, we gotta do strategic planning, and I'm not arguing that. Like I said, we had a great first day, we got a lot of things going on that are going really well, we can always improve, and I'm all about that. But right now, what I wanna do is, I want to try to help set a foundation that's going to make that strategic planning worthwhile. That's the most important thing, so keep scrolling down. Back up. So I do have $1, yes. So if everything was done by MSBA and it's in person, I mean, they just gave me, I guess I'd call it worst case or highest cost. You're looking at $15,000 to do the strategic planning process. Anything we do along the way, like let's say we do 1,100 on the board retreat, that comes off of that total amount. So now if it was 15, and again, that's worst case scenario, but if that was the highest number, now the strategic planning part of it only cost us, $14,000. So everything we do with them along the way keeps coming off of that. Because we may decide to do even more work internally, even after that board retreat, if we chose to do that. They're used to doing that. They're used to walking us through that and then setting up a plan within the board. Go back to the very top, and I did have the opportunity to talk to a few folks that have done some outside. I just think for what we're trying to do, completely brand new, strategic planning, I would strongly suggest we look at committing to using MSBA. The reason I believe so strongly in MSBA, and I've been through, I think Gail was the person from Southeast Co-op. I've been through MSBA's and I've been through some others, and I think even Gail might have been part of MSBA at one point and then ended up doing the consulting with Southeast Co-op. They know what they're doing. There's a reason we might have to spend a little more, but I think we get a little more. And I also think if we follow the steps correctly, build a good foundation, and we're not going to be waiting. If you scroll down again, John, there's, we've got the questions. Also, a big key with this would be after our self-eval, we'd be able to identify those key groups that we want involved in this strategic planning process. We could start to onboard those folks. So basically, I was like, oh, so you're saying we could hit the ground running next fall? And I should have said MSBA, not me. They're like, that wouldn't be the wisest thing to do either. They would really want the new superintendent in place, let him or her get their feet and their own feelings in a feel, and then start it. So really, we would want to target in January instead of the fall of actually starting to work for the strategic planning process. But again, all those groups would be in there. A much simpler survey, at least to get us started, would be done. They did say you could revisit the survey component sometime later in that year, between the fall and January. Again, worst case scenario, if we did that, there's another cost, but that comes off of that 15 total. So when I look at strategic planning, my recommendation would be to give me the go-ahead to reach out at no cost. There's no cost associated right now for us to do the board self-evaluation. I believe the superintendent is a piece of that, so that would be my part too, but I'm not 100% sure, but I know it is the board, for sure, obviously, board self-evaluation. But it isn't, like I said, it isn't a huge burden, it's less than 30 questions.
Eric, is the $15,000, that's just for the strategic planning, or is that for?
Yes.
Okay.
But anything we do, let's just say that we choose to do the ongoing stuff, that's, like, I'm gonna use the 1,100 that's there for the board retreat to really do a dig into the self-eval results. That comes off of that total cost.
So is that like a retainer then?
No, basically the only retainer is, if we're gonna do this, we should move from being penciled in to committing to being in with MSBA, but right now they're okay with putting us, having a mark for us, so to say, a spot for us. We haven't fully committed anything. And you can also do the board self-eval without committing any funds.
Okay, so then it includes relevant questions in the superintendent survey. I assume that we as a board come up with those questions. They kind of guide us, but.
They kind of guide, yes, you certainly could. The big thing is there that you're gonna mix that superintendent survey along with strategic planning questions. There's some that already overlap into both worlds. We just would have more of the strategic planning in there without making it too long of a survey so that nobody fills it out. And if you're not interested, if you still feel, you know what, no, we should do 2 separate surveys, that I need to know, because you're gonna be here shortly, you're gonna get together to lay out that whole calendar. And there's more nights and more involved when you do the survey, because you've got to, spend the time to break down the survey results. But I would say on that, we need to make a decision sooner than later if we wanna commingle the two, or if you wanna keep them separate.
I think one survey makes sense, instead of trying to go out with multiple surveys to people, so, I don't know, I like that idea of just doing one.
Absolutely.
And what about, taking the step towards the self-eval? Is there any feelings on that?
I'm supportive of it, I think it's
I
something
am too.
that would be good.
I do too.
There's no commitment, like I said, we'll get the one pager and then we can make a decision whether we want, the $1,100 is for the retreat. Not sure if that was an action item or not.
It wasn't, it was just on for discussion.
All right.
Good. Additional MSBA policy updates, July 2022. Action item.
And these are just more that we're catching up on. It's not a misprint on the dates. Marcia's doing an outstanding job, but in our process, we should have had these connected last time too, but we caught it. These are non-substantive changes, basically just getting caught up on those, so.
I move to approve.
Motion by Jake, second by Ron. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Preliminary levy certification.
Well, Jan kind of told you the story on this. So basically, they had to have it ready by, I think, Friday. It still wasn't available to print over the weekend, but it was this morning. Got on, tried to print it, and it's got some major errors, which is, to their, not throwing them under the bus, that's pretty much part of the process. Then they go to work on correcting those errors and get everything right. You've been through this before, so, but she used the word I haven't heard before, but basically you're going to levy the max, because by law you can only go down, you can't go up. So we'll revisit it with the real numbers a little later, but at this point, you always remax. And what was the word she used? She had a certain word for it. Anybody remember? Clark? What was it? No? All right, so the action on this would be to levy the max.
Approve the max.
I make that motion.
Motion by Monica, second by Jake. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. The truth in taxation, we did that in
Yes.
July, so that.
It's good to go.
Change the regular board meeting, this is an action item.
Can't have it on Veterans Day, but you can have it Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday of that week. I would recommend the Tuesday, but I haven't really looked at sports. I know some of you have that going on. Could do it that Wednesday, but definitely want to do it that same week, if at all possible.
And Tuesday would be.
So that would be the 12th.
Because we need to canvass the election results within that time period.
Yeah, that would work, Tuesday would work,
That-
normal time.
I make a motion to move the November board meeting to Tuesday, November 12th at 6 p.m.
Motion by Jake,
I'll second.
second by Monica. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. 2025 spring head coaches.
I move
Mr.
to approve
Chair,
the
and
spring
Mr. Separate
coaches
also
for, as approved
coaches.
by, as recommended by
Take it up
administration.
individually.
Okay.
Motion by Monica.
To approve the coaches as recommended by administration.
Second.
I'd like to make an amendment to the motion that we,
We have to have discussion first? Or no?
There's discussion on this
I don't know
first,
this.
or do we,
Do we vote on
what is the practice on
You
this?
could have
I think-
discussion, but I don't know if it's worth discussing if he's going to amend.
I just had, well, usually you have a motion and a second.
Yeah.
I just have a simple comment to make. I would just like to see us as a board come together to show our administration we trust them, make this, approve this recommendation, and take a positive step forward. So that's just my only comment I'd like to make.
I'd like to make a motion to, or amendment to,
Don't we have to vote on it first, or no?
Not if he's
Okay.
going to amend.
Okay.
so I'd like to make an amendment that we, do each sport individually.
Second.
Any discussion on that? Oh, yeah.
Is there any discussion on that item? So the motion's been made and amended that we vote on spring head coaches individually. Can I get a vote?
No.
Those in favor, sorry.
Aye.
No.
No.
Aye. So Marcia, there's a roll call.
Okay. Julie Hart,
Individually, yes.
Ron Springer,
Yes.
Monica,
No.
Jake,
No.
Roger.
Yes. Okay. So we open them up. Baseball.
Are we doing motions on all of these then, or are we just doing straight votes on
Is that correct?
it? I move to approve Scott Flatham to be the baseball.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to approve Ben Peter as the softball coach.
Second.
I'm going to recuse myself from this vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Roll call?
Jake Thompson,
Yes.
Ron Springer,
No.
Julie Hart,
No.
Roger Raymond, Monica.
Yes.
Motion dies, what is it?
Same.
Okay. What do we do? Move on?
Move on to the next one.
Boys track and field.
I move to approve Mike Andreen as the boys track and field coach.
Second.
Motion by Monica, second by Jake. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
I move to approve Nate Filesticker as the girls track and field coach.
Second.
Motion by Monica, second by Jake. All those in favor?
Aye. I move to approve Brian Barnes as the head golf coach.
Second.
Motion by Monica, second by Jake. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next item is Scott Angler Girls Varsity Basketball Coach hire.
Move to approve.
I second.
Motion made by Jake, second by Monica. All those in favor?
Discussion.
Is there any discussion?
I just wanted to say that while I have nothing against Scott Engler, I think that Jessica is a much more qualified candidate. I think she would be great for our girls basketball team.
Any other discussion? Okay. All those in favor of the hire of Scott Angler as a girls' basketball coach?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
Roll call.
Jake,
Yes.
Roger,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Julie,
No.
Monica.
Yes.
ask that you, if you haven't, and I have not, had the opportunity to read what Mike shared with you attached to, the grievance letter itself. I don't think I know this grievance started, before I started here. It was something Darren dealt with. Mike and I did meet when I came on board. I did take the time to make sure that I looked it over myself. In my opinion, Darren interpreted the contract correctly. I also had Shar break down last year. We had over 400 hours of bank time that was utilized from about, I think it was 25, 30 staff or so, at least in last year's analysis, and it takes some time and effort, of course, to put that together. I didn't want to go too much further back. The 2 days of consecutive days off before accessing it were used by all those employees. So, like I said, I'm not exactly sure the new information that might have in these notes, but I was able to review everything that we had available and discuss this with Shar, who was in on the decision originally with Darren. So if you support the administrative take on this, there is still recourse for the union. It would just go to, right now I think it's a level 3, grievance. It would go to a level 4 if the union wants that, and then an outside arbitrator would actually look at both of these stories and tell us who's right and who's wrong, so.
I move to support the administration's decision on this grievance.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Julie, seconded by Ron, to support administrative insight on this. We'll vote. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Dissolve the curriculum committee. We're going to discussion on this.
Yeah, there has been some confusion about the curriculum committee and the district advisory committee as to whether they are two separate committees. And so, as Ron and I were visiting, we thought it would be the easiest thing, though I hear from what was said earlier, to dissolve the curriculum committee, and then as per policy 603 and Minnesota state law, to move, to have, then start a district advisory committee. The district advisory committee is to be made up of teachers, community members, and it would be Ron and I in that. And we would still be reviewing curriculum, but this is the state's way of giving community members the opportunity to look at the curriculum. And it's 2/3 majority of that committee is to be made up of community members. So
So it's not like we're completely we're not taking away a committee that we're just basically renaming it, right? To follow state statute and our policy. State statute.
It would be a completely different committee. So the reason, the reason you have to dissolve the curriculum committee is it's a standing committee that we have. You have a resolution for it. That's what we're looking at right here. So you took board action to create that committee. You have to take board action to remove that committee. I can't do that. And then as far as the district advisory committee, that's a standing committee. Over the years, this district has used it more and sometimes less, but that is in policy 603. It's in statute, like a lot of other policies. But exactly how that's structured, we would have to work on that a little bit. most of the time you don't have board members on that district advisory committee because the role of that committee is to give a recommendation to the board. So if the board's on it, but we have committees that do that right now. The Minnesota State High School League Committee, I think in the past, has given recommendations to the board. It's just trying to figure out what does that look like. We don't need to create or do a resolution for the district advisory committee because that's already a standing committee. We don't need to create it.
Have we utilized it?
Yes, if you look on Bill, I think Bill Urke, when they did the strategic planning the last time around, there's a document I saw on our website that does reference it, and I think Bill utilized it to some extent.
I wonder if that was in the special course. When you guys did that, maybe?
Yeah, it was a piece of the world's best workforce that now has changed and evolved too.
Strategic plan, right?
Yeah. That was probably the biggest connection was the world's best workforce.
So you think that we should still keep that curriculum committee so that the district advisory can recommend to us and then we recommend to the board? Is that what you're saying?
I'm in favor of dissolving the curriculum committee. I'm just saying, well, we'll have to put some time and energy into exactly what does the district advisory committee look like and what is its purpose. They're not exactly the same. The curriculum committee had a much, it didn't involve community, it's a whole different setup as far as the committee. Still looking at curriculum, but just how is it doing that and who's doing it. If you look at the policy with the district advisory committee, you keep going down further, the biggest piece is, and we have them in all three of our buildings, the site-based. The site-based folks do their work, and then it filters into the district advisory committee. So, no, I'm still in favor of dissolving the curriculum committee. We need some time. This got added pretty quick at the end of we need some time to look at what are we doing with the district advisory committee and how is that structured? And who wants to serve on it?
So does it make sense to dissolve the curriculum committee now and until we set those parameters up on it? Yeah, I just wondering.
I haven't attended a curriculum committee.
Yeah, I don't know, I just hate to dissolve it and then we realize we want it still, or we want it there.
Sure, yeah.
Option is to table it and see where we go with this other, that's fine.
I'll make a motion to table.
Second.
Motion by Jake, Ron, second by Jake, table. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Athletic director time allotment for duties. Full-time employee.
So, sorry, a lot going on, and I did try to get you as updated information as I could, but probably could have tried to go in here and make it a little cleaner to understand, but a few things with our PEM number, the 85, that does include our secretary, the stipend, and 60% of Scott's time, but that's probably a high number because I know he does math league, it's probably including his coaching. You know, we just looked at what was 60%, or I did, what's 60% of that total number. There's probably a few things that could be pulled out of there, but again, it's at least something for you to compare to. The 35% at Rushford, that's what they consider, or at least the time that they're given for their duties. And then you can see they do have some flexibility just because of the other duties they're doing. Cotter, 20%. And then you can see basically they're a dean of students, so behavior issues, they got a lot on their plate too. About 80% of their time is outside of the AD world. Lewiston, so keep scrolling. It's as up to date as I can get it, but it's still what it was. I think, I don't know, I lost Doug Veith, retired from Lake City when I was there 5 years ago. Anywhere that you keep scrolling to the end, John, anywhere that you're not going to commit to having a full-time AD, you're always going to see this 50, 40, 60. I'm a dean of students, I'm a community ed director, you can see that combination. It's very similar to what we're doing here at Plainview. I think in my research, we have always had the AD at 60%. They might have taught math or Phi-Ed or social studies or something different, and then along with the stipend. So these other communities, unless you end up going to the full-time, I think it's just a matter of how does it fit into the puzzle in that community at that percentage. Any questions? And like I said, that number might be a little high. All I can tell you is, if you scroll down, you can see the Lake Cities there, right? So, you know, as a full-time AD, yeah, you probably get obviously a lot more things done. You probably don't have the bus company having to say something about a missed bus here or there, but that comes at a cost. That 100% comes at a cost of, you know, additional dollars.
I would say Scott's been putting in full-time work even though he's only 60% of what he's getting paid on it, so.
I would say Scott's been putting in more than full-time.
Right.
We have no extended, that full-time AD at Lake City has an extended summer contract, folks, besides full-time during the school year. A few additional duties, a DAC coordinator, that's your assessment, so MCA time. Also coaches like Scott does. But yeah, you're right, Jake. And like I said, even more so, he's doing more in the summer that is unpaid.
Do you recall, like, Lake City's salary, what's an average full-time AD?
So, other than, I think, Cass and Manorville, and I don't know if they changed, Cass and Manorville, when I did the research a while back, they were at-will employees. So when you're an at-will employee, you have no protection of tenure or anything like that. Everybody else, like Lake City, Trevor Nearham's a teacher on a teacher contract. So basically, you know, you're in the, without the assistant or anything like that, I'm sure 90,000 would be your start. Where we're at with our part-time and that assistant, Megan, very impressive. Megan, I mean, we met with the bus company, they talked about some things that they did, I believe when it was Bill, was it Kurt? Was the director here at the PEM site or the Plainview site, talked about maybe bringing that back, they have. I also have access to that link, it's been spot on for the first, and again, I know it's the start of the school, but that's important. Just, yeah, doing some very good things, and I'm pretty sure Lake City still has an assistant. The one that was there when I was there moved on to the Alaskan Charters, and I didn't follow closely enough to see if they replaced the assistant. But when I was at Lake City anyways, that full-time person also had an assistant they shared with, they were full-time, but they were shared with community ed.
How many students does Lake City have?
When I left, it was less than us.
Oh, okay.
Close, but we're a little bigger. They do have a few more activities. They've got the tennis courts over there. So they do boys and girls tennis. Otherwise, I think we offer about everything they do. this still is a discussion item, I brought it back from the last, I'm just wondering, or direction, is there another piece I can bring in, as far as information or anything to help in this evaluation? Jake said it and I'll say it, I've said it a couple of times. I think you get a huge bang for your buck out of your AD and your AD system. And if in my time you're thinking of spending money somewhere, I wouldn't spend it on making the AD full-time. I would love a part-time curriculum director, or I can give you other ideas of how I'd spend our money over making our AD full-time.
Any other discussion? All right. Board comments? Do you have any?
I do, I have a question. Data, Eric, are we doing a data coaches in October, the whole presentation? Or like, when are?
7 AM tomorrow, I'm meeting with our data coaches along with our principals.
Okay,
I'm not doing the feedback I got from, was it our last meeting or the one before that, it just was too much to
right,
take in, and
Yeah.
it was a great presentation, but I
Yeah.
don't want them working that hard for something that we really don't value at this level.
right,
So tomorrow, we're gonna talk, and what I see happening is very common, pre-K 3 information to the board as far as data, will look completely different than Mike's stuff at the 9-12 level. It just doesn't exist, for one thing, and the other part is, they're already doing a lot of this work. When we talk about those benchmarks, in the testing, in the math and reading especially, they're not gonna have to do extra work to share that. But tomorrow, we're meeting just to make sure with our data coaches, okay, and I have met individually with a couple of them, and they shared their ideas. Yes, they would love to present. We don't wanna overwork them. Also, the MCA information, I still wanna make sure, as far as the principals and the staff, there's value in that for some of us, even though it's postmortem,
right,
so we will work that out tomorrow in our meeting. And then I envision, if everything goes well, we'll actually have a data calendar, that we will have those dates and who's presenting to the board and what they're presenting done tomorrow, so.
that'd be awesome, thank you.
I thank our coaches then. But yes, looking forward to that.